I'm sitting here on Quandamooka country down near Wynnum Way on the Bayside. QSEC is based in Brisbane, Meanjin, on Turrbal and Yagara land. And at QSEC, we really like to take a moment just to pay respects to the traditional owners of the land that we all stand on. We acknowledge that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture have been doing social enterprise way before it was even a term. Reciprocity and caring for country and making sure that the Sustainable Development Goals were in everything they did. We've got a lot to learn and a big journey ahead of us. And we're really proud to stand and walk with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people on this land. So yes, thank you, Leanne, Rachel, Kelly, Amanda for joining us today, and all the members and all the people who are signing in to have a look at branding and marketing for social enterprise. And I'd like to welcome Rachel from House of Eden. If you don't know who's doing all the behind the scenes marketing glory for QSEC, it's actually Rachel. It's so awesome that she's here today to help us navigate this wonderful conversation with the fabulous ladies from Green Fox Studio. Now, Green Fox Studio were the masterminds behind the Positive Action with Every Transaction campaign last year, which was so awesome and so fantastic. And we're super excited to have the both of them sharing their screens today with us and their knowledge about marketing and all things branding. Leanne's going to take us for a tour at the end of this session. So if you haven't seen a tour of the website yet, you must definitely stick around at the end of this session to go and have a look at the forums, have a look at the learning centres, the amazing things that we've got working behind the scenes for you. So Rachel, I'd love to hand over to you now, my dear. Fabulous, welcome today.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, for those of you that don't know me, I am Rachel from House of Eden Studio. We are predominantly a marketing agency, and I will be interviewing Kelly from Green Fox Studio today, all about her branding, but we really want this to be an active learning lunch, and so feel free to ask your questions, pop your questions in the question box, and I'll make sure that they get answered as we go through these. The thing is, the reason why I am interviewing Green Fox is because of my experience understanding how a brand is so important for marketing. In a month's time, we're going to reverse this, and the lovely ladies from Green Fox will be asking me all about marketing. So please make sure that you come back in a month's time so we can continue the conversation and continue to help you. But without further ado, I want to get stuck in and ask Kelly some questions. Kelly, I don't know whether you have any slides that you want to present or whether you just wanted me to ask you.
Yeah, no, I don't. I do have a sheet that I'm going to give to everybody at the end of this just to take away. And I think it's really good if you are looking at branding yourselves, you'll have that sort of cheat sheet beside you of what research you need to do to get to a point of engaging a designer or even just doing something online. So I'll give that at the end, but I will share my screen when we sort of get to those questions, and then we can sort of talk it through, and if anyone's got any questions about it, I'm more than happy to answer them for you.
Sure. Okay, so to kick off, can you tell us a little bit about who is Green Fox and what do you do?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Rachel. So Green Fox Studio is a full creative agency. We are also a social enterprise. We also have a not-for-profit arm of our business, which is Green Fox Training Studio. So that studio is inside a men's high security prison where we train and employ prisoners during incarceration. So we've developed an offline learning platform where we train them all the necessary skills to support us and our clients in the projects that we get through Green Fox Studio. So that's sort of how that partnership works.
I've wanted to ask you for a very long time, why Green Fox? How did you come up with that name?
Yeah, so Amanda and I worked together previously in media, and when we were there, I guess I've always sort of had this interest in doing bid work, so business proposals and tender submissions and things. I really like the way that when you do design, you've got this really, it's like this intense, sort of this intense period where you sort of have this start button and then this end button, and you sort of work to a big team works towards this end goal of trying to, you know, win this submission. So what we used to do is, even though Amanda and I had our day jobs and some other mums that we also used to work with, we used to get these submissions during the day, and this was like our freelance business model. We'd get the submissions, and the teams would work through, the corporate teams would work through those submissions during the day, writing them into Word documents. And by the evening, they'd be able to give me the Word document, and either Amanda or myself would come up with a design, and then we would tackle that design from each end and smash it out to them through the night and have it delivered to them in the morning. So that was our point of difference, which is, you know, sounds really intense, but I don't know, it was just when you have babies and you put your little babies to bed, it was kind of nice to sit up and have that moment with a bit of a team of like-minded people that really enjoyed doing that type of work. So that's where the foxes came in, because we were foxes in the night. We worked through the night, and it was just these group of mums that were just, you know, it was a freelance gig. The green sort of came in a little bit later when we decided to move into the prisons, and that's really around Amanda and her environmental impact and just, you know, her social conscious and everything. So yeah, it just turned into Green Fox Studios. That's how we came up with it.
I love that story, and it's always really important to have a story behind your brand, I think.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions here. Talia is asking, are you in Redcliffe?
In where?
In Redcliffe. Whereabouts are you based?
Oh, no, we're based...
I just quickly Googled you, and I saw there's a Fox studio in Redcliffe, and I got so excited. I'm like, oh, they're in my same street. I'm going to run down and see you. But I realised it was a different one. Sorry.
Okay. There is actually some other Foxes out there. So,
yeah.
No, we are in Salisbury. So, I mean, I'm at home today, but Amanda, who's online as well, we've got an office in Salisbury and a social enterprise hub in the Food Connection. Yeah. And then we're also out at Barallan Correctional Facility. Yeah.
Awesome. So when a company gets in touch with you, they let you know that they need a brand or a rebrand. What are the key elements that you need to take them through?
Yeah. So when people get into something, I think the biggest thing is really understanding your market. So when you come up with your name, we've been involved with business name generation as well, and that is quite tricky when there isn't, sorry, Amanda's writing to me, when there isn't so much to go off. So it's really important to do your research around that, to look at who your target market is, what type of, what clients you're going for. You'd need to look at who your competitors are, who you're trying to, I might actually bring this sheet up because it might actually be easier just to go through it. Sorry, I'm going to share my screen with you. Can you see my screen now?
I can't.
Oh, let me try here.
There we go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the biggest things, I guess, to look for is what do you do, and then looking at the colours and everything. So some of the key keywords that you would describe to look at the overall feel and style of what you want to achieve in the design. Having a look at, definitely your competitors, and I guess what the the colours. You would need to look at the sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought.
That's all right.
Objectives and goals. So what objectives and goals you'd want to achieve with the design, what beliefs and values you'd want to convey through the design, and what your main target demographic is. There's other things that you'd need to look at when we go through this list with clients that will see design. What do you want them to feel? There's a lot of things on color. Like if you're trusting, you'd probably want to go with the blue. If you're, you wouldn't probably want to have some red in there. We have worked with a client previously where it was about children, and then you've got all this red in there and just sort of a bit of an angry color. So I guess really having a look into that. Amanda, do you have any comments on some of these?
Sorry, my internet connection keeps dropping out and telling me that I'm unstable, and I am feeling a little bit unstable, to be honest. In terms of colours, etc., colours one of those things, like it's how long's a piece of string, that a colour can really determine, how people perceive you, whether they see you as corporate or whether they see you as casual, fun, elegant, all of those things. And I actually love colour and how it can kind of determine those things just in an instant almost. I think, and at the same time, it really is having an understanding of it, because everybody's seen those, vile kind of backgrounds that have got 50 shades of the rainbow, gradients leading into everything. And, so it's really just understanding that sometimes it's just a little bit, it's an accent that can change those kind of emotions, because everybody feels quite emotionally connected to colour, regardless of whether it's kind of something that's in your conscious or subconscious. It really speaks to people.
Yeah. I think another thing to look at when you're coming to a designer and when you're sort of looking at logos is taglines as well. I know that with Amanda and I, we spent a lot of time, we had Green Fox Studio. We really wanted that name and we got that name, but looking at just having a Green Fox and Green Fox Studio, it really doesn't describe what we do. So we really needed to spend a lot of time on our tagline, and that involved a lot of sitting down and writing a lot of words around what sort of described our business, and what if our logo was placed on somebody's desk, what in like 3 key words would describe what we do. So we couldn't really we train and employ prisoners. I mean, that's pretty much what we do, but it's not all we do. And so what we did was we pretty much sat down with a big sheet of white paper and wrote down all the words that could go around our business. And then we were able to develop the make time count, which sort of reflected in the, obviously doing time in prison, incarceration, all those type of words. So being quite clever with your tagline. If your business name doesn't exactly say what your business does, having that tagline is a really good secondary support. And I think you almost need to nail that as much as your business name, so that that's there when you're not.
Definitely. That actually probably follows on from a question that Stacey has asked, is do you share the message or reason behind your brand with other people in your messaging and marketing and things like that?
Do we share the messaging? What do you mean by that?
So there's a question that's come through from Stacey that says, do you share your reason behind, I think, your name and like what you do, and do you share all of those things with?
Do we share? I share like how we've come up with that name and everything. Is that what you're asking?
I think so, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Look, not many people ask us about Green Fox Studio and why we decided to call ourselves that. I think, yeah, we've only been asked that probably a handful of times. The make time count has probably been quite a little bit bigger for us in that sort of aspect.
Yeah, I think we occasionally get asked, how did you, why green, why fox, etc., as Kelly said, but yeah, probably the make time count is the quirky bit that people go, oh, right, oh,
that's clever.
Time, yeah.
Definitely. And while we're on this subject, I know from my past in similar work that I've often found it really difficult when someone's come to me and said, I need a logo, and you have to explain, actually, you don't need a logo, you need a brand. Did you want to evolve, explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, look, I would almost feel that you would need to, yes, come up with your logo. Well, I'd probably come up with your brand first, because your brand is your vision and values. That is your business. That's probably, I guess that's what you would probably go for Rachel at House of Eden to sort of help establish and everything. Your logo is the symbol that's left behind that reminds people of your vision and values. So yeah, I guess that's the difference of those two for me. But yeah, your logo really needs to be something that stands out. And when I go back to what I was saying earlier, is doing your research of the market and your competitors and who you want to target. Like, you really do need to look into that, to make sure that when there's all these cards on a table, or say you've got everybody's cards on a table, that yours stands out. And why does yours stand out? You need to understand your brand and what your point of difference is, so that you can sort of try and use that to help brief in the designer to develop your logo so it kind of shines through in a way. And I think, or even gets to a point where it initiates a conversation into why your logo is that way. You know, I think it's really important to be clever with your logo, you know, because we'll talk about it a little bit later, I'm assuming, in this meeting, and in this sheet that I've got on my desk, on my desktop that you can see at the moment. There's different ways you can go about getting your logo done. You can go to a designer like myself or Amanda, or you can definitely go online and get logos done. It's really, really important though that when you get your logo done, that you do your research around it and you make sure that that's a logo that you're really happy with and you're going to stay with for a while. Because once you get brand recognition from all your clients, and say you go quite large, it's very, very hard to rebrand, because that's not what people remember by what you've left behind previously.
Definitely. So can we go into that in a bit more detail? What advice would you give to someone that is maybe doing a DIY brand?
Yeah, DIY brand, mood board. Oh my God, I've got here, you'll see, I've got Pinterest. You can get mood boards on there and do them online. If you've never done this before, go onto Pinterest, go onto Google, look up logos, and just any keywords. Like, if you like blue logos, do blue logos. You know, it can be as simple and basic as that to start with. Once you need to understand what you like about a brand and what you like about a logo. Like, you can't, I think when you're trying to do your own logo, it's really easy to go, well, I like what they've done. But you've got to go a little bit deeper than that and ask yourself, why do you like that? Why do you like what they've done? What is it that you like about it? Is it because there's a blend of colors? Is it because it's one color? You know, what is it that's attracted you to that? And once you understand that, then you can start building this mood board that will help you do your logo yourself. Although if you are going to do your logo yourself, I definitely recommend paying just a little bit extra on top of after you've done it, and give it to a designer to finalize, because there are so many things that you need to think about when you're getting a logo done. So one of the biggest things I always tell our designers when we're doing logos, as soon as I see them, I just go, what's the smallest scale that's going to be used at? So it can look great on screen. You can be like, that's going to kill it. That's going to be amazing. And then, but if the font is too thin and you've got an older demographic that you're trying to target, they're not going to be able to read it when it's on your business card. So there's all those type of things to take into consideration. I think that's probably my bit of advice, is just to get even a little bit of, get a designer to look over it at the end. Yeah, that would be my advice.
One thing that I think is also important to mention is sometimes that if you are looking to others for inspiration, is just to make sure that you don't completely copy another logo that's out there. Have you had any instances of any sort of legalities or like issues gone wrong with people maybe copying something a bit too closely?
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing as well. You know, we had a client come to us and they had actually just taken the icon off another business and then just put their name under it. So that's copyright. So you can get sued for that. That's quite bad. So not to mention, there's so many things around that is wrong, and the quality of the image as well. Look, I do not copy anybody else is the main thing. I guess the thing is as well that, you know, with 99 Designs, which you can see at the bottom of the sheet there as well, when you go to do branding and you do go online rather than using a designer where they're using their artistic skill set to sort of create a piece of artwork for you and just for you, nobody else will have that, you'd hope. But when you go online, you've got this problem of you've got all these designers that are all online pitching for your work, but they're putting all these logos up, but all of them, because it's sort of like a bucket of logos, they will repurpose those logos and they'll do them for everybody. So you're most likely to get a logo that looks good, but you're not guaranteed that that's not going to be elsewhere. And yeah, that's that whole conversation around, well, is that worth it when later you're just going to have to redo it again if you get big or if you're in competition? I know when I was working at News Corp, there was, I can't remember the name of it, part of the brand of one of, in a paper, oh God, what was it called? It was very, very similar. It was really good to use in Queensland. But when we, News Regional Media signed up with News Corp and became bigger, and then we wanted to scale a part of our newspaper nationally, it became a problem because we had another business that was named very similar and the logo was very similar. And then we had to rebrand because we would have been sued. And that's the problem that can happen later. And then you're starting from scratch again because you've lost that brand recognition. So yeah, look, don't take shortcuts with your logo. You can definitely do it sort of cheaper ways, but don't steal other people's logos, and definitely just be aware that when you do those cheaper logos online, just be aware that you already understand who your competition is and make sure that you're not getting something that's super similar to what they've got.
Definitely, yeah. I've got Leanne mentioning that yes, you can run into issues with trademark. I also have Matthew saying that Zara is an intern student in marketing for Nature Freedom, so give her a warm welcome. So hi Zara, if you have any questions, let us know. But one thing that I think would be really interesting for me to ask you is you've mentioned 99 Designs a few times. What is the process that someone actually needs to go through with you, sort of from that concept to completion stage? What does that actually look like when you're engaging with someone like Green Fox rather than an online service like 99 Designs?
Yeah, so what you're seeing on screen right now, what I've got up there is what the process you would go through with a design company. You'd need to know all of that about your business. 99 Designs, I mean, I haven't used it myself, and I know there's heaps of others. I just put it there as just something to give you guys reference of somewhere to go and have a look at. It's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, I think the process on there is you go in and it's like a formula. So you say what colors you like, they'll put up all these different logos and they'll say, do you like ones like this or this? And then you sort of select them all, and then it puts in this, it automates this brief out that then shoots out to designers globally, I think. And then everybody puts in pictures in their logos, and then you take a selection and you take that and you take it through the next round, and then you end up choosing a designer and that logo. So that's kind of, it's a very step-by-step easy process. You don't really have to think too much because it all is just automated and done for you. The other website I have down there is Behance, which is done by Adobe. Now that you could go on there and you could have a look at, there's lots of designers, really, really good designers all over Australia and all over the world for that instance. But you could go on there and you could actually have a look at different portfolios of graphic designers, and you could see if there's a designer that sort of suits your needs. It's not one logo is going to fit everybody and one designer is going to be the perfect one for you, but I think you can definitely see a style. So do your research on the company that you use or the designer that you use and make sure that their style sort of suits your needs. So yeah, that would be my thing. But yeah, if you're going to use a design company and you're looking for the brand guidelines, you want the fonts, you want to know what fonts you're going to use, you want to know the fonts in your logo, you want to make sure that your logo can, go across a variety of mediums, and you want to make sure that it can be mono as well, because a lot of things are printed in black and white as well, so you're going to make sure it's not too heavy. And then, yeah, that's how I would do it. Another really big thing to do, and I see it like a big problem all the time, is with logos is ink weight. I know that a lot of people, it might sort of be a little bit too detailed here, but when you're using designers that don't really understand design and color, if you've got a CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow and black, when you're using 4 colors, your colors can turn out really muddy, and they can really change when you're doing it online or in print. And that's where I guess you'd probably get a little bit more of a quality, a lot more of a quality logo using a design agency than just somebody just spitting things out, because they'd probably look into those colors a little bit more and make sure that your logo can be carried across print. It'll be black and white, it will go online, and it will look the same everywhere. Mm-hmm. There are certain colors that will change massively from being in print and to being online. So you really want to try and get that matched as quick as, as best as possible.
There's so many little things to consider. Roughly how long does it take for someone to engage, so to come to you and say that they want a logo and a brand or a rebrand? How long does that take from concept to completion with you?
Yeah, so it can take anywhere between 5 to 16 hours. And, it's a lot of, it can take more than that really. It just depends. It's one of those things, it's how long is a piece of string, to start getting some, and it depends how many you want. So each logo design that you do, it can take a couple of hours. So depending on what you're wanting, will really depend on the time that it takes. So if somebody wanted 6 varieties of logos that are all completely different, that's going to take a really long time, because it's 6 different pieces of art that all have to be looked into and all make sure that they don't look like anybody else's. So there's a lot of research around all that, and the colors, obviously, which I've just spoken about. It takes a lot of time. It's really, I guess, and I'm not saying, it's not the most difficult. It's difficult, I will say, because it's my interpretation of what I think would look best for you, but it's got to be in your style. I don't know if that makes sense. So that's where the difficulty comes in, because it's not just what I want. Everybody has their own idea of what looks pretty and what doesn't, and what works and what doesn't, and what colors are best and what don't. So, to be able to really understand your client, you really need to spend some good time with your designer and make sure that they understand what you like, what's your style, because what I do is not necessarily going to be what the end product is going to look like, but I can definitely guide you in the way of which I think would work best.
Sure. I have some questions that have come through. So Alison said, really interested in the inclusion of language and attitude in external communications of your organization in the branding. How do you remain consistent with the personality of your brand? And then she's also put, especially when there are multiple different stakeholders and target audiences that they need to encompass for.
Yeah. Oh goodness, practice. We have done, I mean, I think being in the social enterprise, well, I come from corporate and media, and I think coming into social enterprise, I've never really realized how much you have to keep practicing your pitch, the narrative to your brand, and especially because Amanda and I, we're two people. I'm really, really fortunate to have an amazing business partner like Amanda. We are very much in sync, although offer very different skill sets. And I think I was going to talk about this earlier as well, is knowing what that narrative is to when you say it to a client is really important. It's really important to really understand it and get it over really clear and concisely, and make sure it's just enough to give them enough information, but also get them to ask the right questions back. So I can sort of talk on a thing that happened to us when we first started. Within the first probably about a month, we were invited to the Shivers Regal $1 million, social enterprise pitch in Australia. We were one of 5, and we were so young. We were like, as I said, like 2 months old. We had really no idea what we were doing, and we're like, oh my God, we'll do it. We flew to Sydney and we went up there and we pitched against some amazing other businesses. Like they were truly incredible. We just felt so overwhelmed. And we were downstairs, like having a glass of wine, trying to like remember our pitch, and we were just, but it was all interest, and it was all this like, oh, we work in prisons and we do graphic design and we do this, and we just really hadn't nailed down what our story was, and we had such a big story to tell as well. We didn't know how to do it. We really hadn't even worked out our business structure, and it really came across. And I remember when we did the pitch, and it was all about expansion. The person who won was all about, well, how they're easy to expand because they're digital, they're tech companies, and we couldn't expand. But the thing was, when we pitched and just told a story of what we're doing and hadn't really formulated it. So the questions we got asked were, oh, why did you start this? And oh my God, is it scary in prison? We got asked all the wrong questions. And so all our question time was, it wasn't the questions we needed, because we actually didn't have a chance to say all the stuff that we needed to do. Whereas all the other businesses had practiced their pitch, had practiced their narrative, had understood their business, understood how to tell that story really well, so that it led them into asking the questions of, and how are you going to expand and how are you going to do this? So I think, just understanding how you can get the story of your business and who you are and what you're doing and the product or the service you're delivering, understanding how to put that out as best as possible and practicing it.
And on that note, like it's really easy. Like we sound like we're so experienced and we've nailed this now, right? But it's it's important for us to remind ourselves that actually we've only been in business for 2.5 years, and when we did that pitch, we had been in business for 2 months, so I guess, your experiences and the lessons learned and all of those things, they become part of your brand as well. So they become part of your story, and you are part of your own story. So, if you've got life experiences and you've had, that all becomes part of who your business is.
Absolutely. I think it's worth just saying it in black and white that a brand is so much more than just a logo. Yes, the consistency should be seen in your coloring and your fonts and your visual imagery, any photos you use, all of those sorts of things. But your brand really does include so many other things. It is about who you are, how you can tell your story, your written communications, your verbal communications. It's a much more holistic view. I have a question here from Leanne. She is wondering if you help people work through the answers on this worksheet that you're showing us at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I'd be more than happy to, you know, if anybody had, you know, needed to go through it, I'm more than happy. You can call me. I'll go through it with you. It looks like a lot of information. It actually isn't. You know, once you sort of break it all down, it's not that much. A lot of it is quite repetitive. I've tried to put as much in here as possible because there are going to be some things in there that you can't answer and you don't really understand how to answer. But as long as you get probably about 60% of this, you're on a really good pathway to engaging a designer and getting what you need.
And she's got another question here that says, what is the benefit of getting your brand and logo right?
Oh, yeah. You need to be proud of what you're doing. You know, that's when you hand over a business card and you've got a logo on there, you need to be, you've got to back that. And if you've got something that you're not 100% sold on, it's I don't know, I don't think it's a good way to start. I think you really need to be proud of it. You need to be wanting to shout it from the rooftops, and I think that's when you know you've got your brand, your logo right, and that you're proud of it, and when you pass it over and you can back that with your story.
Definitely. And Leanne's also put part of your brand is also your authenticity. Yes, absolutely. And obviously being a social enterprise is also making sure that you're communicating your purpose, your impact, why there's a need for the problem that you've got, and all of those things as well. So there are some unique things that a social enterprise may need to communicate different to the average business. Any other things that you could think of, and any advice that you would give to social enterprise specifically?
Get your elevator pitch right, because the amount of times we've had to do it is unbelievable. I never really believed how many times I would have to do that 3-minute pitch of getting everything into that one story. And especially if you're, you know, you've got a new business or innovative business, or you're, you know, just starting out, and just the amount of times that you have to go over that and do it is quite incredible. It's, yeah, so I would say write it all down, get some help, speak to Rachel, you know, and get that story right, get that right, because that is what you are going to use more than anything, more than a business card, I got to tell you, because you're the one that sells your business, and it's people buy you with your business. They don't buy the business card that you give them, they buy you. And so it's really, really important. Logo is important, but you are the most important thing to selling what you've got.
100%. Leanne's being cheeky now. I'm wondering if we've got 3 minutes. Can you give us your...
Oh my God.
Oh, Leanne, you're so mean. Do you know, Kelly and I had to do it in 1 minute yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we did it. So we've always done the 3 minutes, and we had to do it.
Go on, give us the 60-second version.
Oh, Amanda, you can just play the video.
Yeah, exactly. Just play the video. That's it. Can you hear my voice? I'm froggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what then would an elevator pitch involve? Like what elements would you always, even in the 60-second, if somebody says, hey, tell me about Green Fox, whoever, what must we have in our 60-second?
So for us, which is what we learned a lot, it really depends who you're pitching to. So if you're pitching to a room of people that are with you in the room, and you're sort of with other social enterprises that have amazing impact, lead with who your business is. I mean, I'm talking just from our business. Our business is, I know it's a lot different to other people's, but if people are already there knowing that you've got impact, don't lead with that, because they're already there because they know you're doing good. Start with how good you are at your business and what your service is, and then you lead in with your impact at the end, because you've got to sell them on that part, you know, because they're already there because they believe in the fact of who you are, and they probably already know a little bit about you. So it really depends. We adjust ours all the time depending on who we're going to. With you know, when I go out to see corporate clients, I go in there with I do the same. I go in there with all about the services that we provide, because having the impact that we do is that added bonus, and it kind of wows them at the end. It does. You sort of show what we're doing, and then you say, oh, by the way, that was all done inside a high security prison, and everyone's like, oh my God, what? You know, it just kind of blows everyone's mind, and then things. But then we've also led with, Amanda, you led in one of the first in Impact Boom. When we did that, you led in with the shock value of that we've got 196 years of what was it, of sentence left in our prison, like not of experience, but of, you know, time that is left inside prison. So 196 years in one studio, you know, if we're, you know, and that's something that blows people's minds all the time. Like, you know, with what we do is, that's 196 years of wasted time if we're not in there educating people and making them the best they can be, and supporting them and showing them that they can be better and showing them another pathway. And so that's where, you know, I guess you've just got to see who you go to. But Amanda might want to do the pitch. Amanda?
Thanks, Kelly, but that's okay. I think we're out of time. Just go online, have a look at YouTube. There's a really great one there.
Actually, you can have a look at our first one we did. It's on YouTube. Look up Green Fox Studio. You'll see our first pitch we did and how we led into that. And we worked tirelessly with that. And I have to say it was a little bit robotic, because we were new. And
we look at it now and we go, oh gosh, that's so, that was. But at the same time, and it was robotic and it was scripted, and we went through it. But what we found now is that, and even it's crazy to even think this, but yesterday morning, before we had to do it, you know, the 1 minute pitch, it was so funny here at the shed. Like everyone was laughing, like, what was that? We just went, oh, it's only a minute. Oh, that's easy, right? And so it was just bam, bam. And we went, oh, yeah, we already know what we're talking about. We pitch this almost every single day, just not, you know, like with intent, you know, not with intent. It is our business. So it is our pitch every day, because that's our brand. So we're constantly talking about these things, and so they are, you know, front of mind all the time.
Definitely. And you do start to know your target audience the more you say it too. Those nuances, that the people that you start with the impact, because you know that you're talking to a room full of people that are incredibly passionate about that, or those that you start with the services that you provide and then add the impact later. There's obviously lots of different things to consider, whether it's that you kind of go in with a problem solution type, and kind of, or if you go in with the theory of change, and Leanne is a great person to talk to if you're ever wondering about the sort of theory of change, of understanding sort of why you're actually doing this from and making sure that that's a huge part of your business model, and being able to, I think it's the 5 whys, isn't it, Leanne, of being able to say why to your, or being able to answer why to your previous answer 5 times over.
One other thing I think is really important when you go out and you're sort of talking to businesses is work out not only what is good about your business, but where those, and especially with us, where we found was, what are those hard-hitting questions? Where's the weakness? around you, and be prepared for those questions as well. We get, one of the ones that we got a lot was, and we were scared of, was the slave labor. Is it slave labor working with people inside prison? And, making sure you're ready to answer those questions, like really, because that's all the stuff that is going to back your brand, and, the knowledge of not only the good, but the bad, and making sure you can answer those correctly.
Yeah, and I also, if you are ever given a piece of time, whether it's a minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, is actually being really wary of try and fit it within the time that you have been allocated, because sometimes there are instances that I've been to as startup weekends, for instance, that after the 5 minutes, if you're talking for 5 minutes over, they will clap you off stage, and you don't want that last piece that you were just about to say to have gone over that time. So make sure you really know who you're talking to, and make sure that you do fit it in within the time period that you have been given, because obviously time is very valuable to everyone. Especially maybe like higher level executives and stuff. You don't want to waste their time by going into too much detail if that's not what they're asking for too. Leanne, we've got, what are other good elements of a good brand? So logo, font, tagline, messaging, values, vision, mission. What else would you recommend? Goes into like a perfect brand.
Yeah, that's it. That's the answer. That was a hard one. Yeah, it is the tagline, the narrative, the story, the colors, the everything that you surround yourself with your brand, to make you feel good and make you feel confident about going out to market and competing with the people that are already out there, or even being supportive of the people you work. I think that's another thing. I know this is probably a little bit off topic, but one thing that Amanda and I have always done in the business is being really supportive of anybody that could be considered as a competitor, because I think especially in the social enterprise world, we are so fortunate to be here with QSEC and to have that support by them that sort of brings us all together like this, because it is really about when we're all together and we bring these brands and these businesses together that we support each other, because we are stronger, together.
Definitely.
That sounded really daggy, and I'm sorry that sounded daggy, but I really believe it, and I really believe it.
And now are you going to sing that song, Kelly, about all of this together? Because we didn't hear that enough last year, did we?
Yeah.
I think
I really
also
noticed it during COVID, especially. It's important to everybody and everything.
I think also just to kind of tie that all up from a marketing perspective, I think it is just so important to narrow down that niche and not try and talk to everyone and not try and appease everyone. Not everyone is your target market. Yes, everyone can buy your product, but not everyone is going to. There's no brand in the world that everyone buys. And the more targeted and consistent you can be with your visual brand, showing up as your authentic self with the people that you actually want to work with, it just connects so much easier. Like, you go back to the beginning when you were saying about those colors of who you want to be, who your personality is, how you want to be portrayed. It's really hard to know where to even start if you don't know who you're talking to next.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Awesome.
But yeah, look, if anybody's got any questions, I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you and answer them. I will send this sheet out just so you can start getting things sort of written down. Get a whiteboard or get a big piece of paper in the middle of your table and just put your name in the middle, and then start just drawing lines off it and start working out what that landscape looks like. Sign up to Pinterest. I can't recommend it more highly. Like, it is so easy to use, and it really does help you you can bring in all the things on your board and mood board, and you can start looking at what you like. And that would be the best way to to start, I think, before you engage anybody.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of us as well, we're by ourselves so much. Like, I know that I can see on the screen here, there's a whole lot of sole traders on the screen that I can see. And because we're on our own so much, actually having somebody to bounce ideas off. Now, whether that's you guys getting together and going, hey, I want to talk about my branding. Do you want to do some reciprocal stuff and actually have some accountability, or do some brainstorming, or post-it notes up on a wall, whatever it is, having somebody to bounce ideas off, so you're not just in your own head all the time going, is that a good idea? Is that a rubbish idea? Have I thought of that before? Did I steal that off somebody else? I have no idea, because it's just me in my kitchen. So actually having somebody to go, yeah, that actually sounds really naff. Oh, I like that. That sort of stuff can really help come up with the answers to those questions. Because I know if you're anything like me, you look at that list of questions and go, I don't know. I'm sure that the answer is there somewhere, but I don't know if it's a good answer because I haven't bounced it off anybody. So getting us to having a look in the directory to go, hey, who else is working in that space? Asking me, hey, there was a person on there. Do you mind? Can we connect? Finding people in the directory or whatever it is, but having that opportunity, not always me, but having that, because as Alison knows, theory of change workshops with me can go for a little while, but having that opportunity to bounce ideas off, that can be really good as well. And that's the network that we're trying to bring in as well. So
thank you so much, Rachel, Amanda, Kelly. Fantastic, Leanne. So great to have your insight and your experience in this room as well. That was such an awesome session. I mean, I've been working in marketing, branding and communications, but I picked up so much stuff out of that as well. So thank you so much for that. It was really, really awesome.
I think definitely you should join if you're a social enterprise.
Join us. We are a fantastic bunch of social entrepreneurs.
I'll be looking to join an organisation like QSEC that could really advocate on my behalf.
And it's really nice to meet other people that feel and live and breathe their work as well. You're not alone.
So at the moment there's the Gold Coast network, we've got the Sunshine Coast network, Toowoomba, Logan, there's a Brisbane network, and then of course all the regional centres. When I do get a chance to stop and take a breath and look back on what we've achieved, there is definitely a sense of pride.
I want to make a bit of a difference to somebody's life. Didn't ever expect to make a difference to my own life.